Joe, and here is Dr. Joe.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much, Ms. No, and welcome to our podcast today. It's 9. We always say 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern,
and 5 o'clock in London.
You got it right. Come on, give me a neighbor. You finally got it right. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Well, now if it's 5 o'clock in London, isn't that 5 o'clock all over England?
Yes.
Okay, because I said 5 o'clock in England.
Yes. You know, but London is kind of the popular city.
Yeah, the hub.
The one that everybody knows. Yeah. Today we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking a little bit about politics today, because in a few days we're going to be having our big election in the U.S.
Is that next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Okay.
That's only a couple of days away, and quite a lot of people have been voting. But anyway, just to tell you a little bit about the Good with Dr. Joe, the podcast, we try to look for anything that is good in everything that's happening. You know, we talk about small business. That's our main focus. Small business, hot topics, and so on and so forth. So this week, we're going to be talking about politics because there's a lot going on all over the world. If you haven't been watching the news, there has been a lot of protests in the U.S. And that is galvanizing people and motivating people to vote. You know, we had the George Floyd protest, which was on for a while. We had the lady from Texas, Brianna. Yes.
I saw on the news, I believe it was this morning, and I can't remember where they were protesting, and they had gone into stores last night. They tore that place up.
Yeah. So what happens is that a lot of times the protest, peaceful protests, a lot of times the people who organize protests, they start peaceful protests, and 90% of the time you have hoodlums and criminals.
And organize, and you have professional protesters.
Yeah,
they're paid.
They actually hijack.
Right.
They actually hijack and completely demolish the whole purpose of the protest.
Yeah.
And that's so sad.
It really is.
Yeah, but there's protests going on there's a major country in Europe. I think it's called Belarus. There's a protest been going on there now for weeks, if not even months. And also lately there's a protest, a very huge protest out of West Africa in Nigeria. A lot of celebrities in America has actually spoken in support of the protesters.
What are they protesting?
People like Kanye West. It says hashtag end SARS. And over here, SARS means Special Anti-Robbery Squad. SARS. I think that's the police. It's a police unit. You know.
Yeah.
And I think that what they are protesting is that they said the police has been using unnecessary force.
Brutality.
And
against police brutality.
Yeah, so they are really fighting against police brutality. That's how the protests all started. But now the protesters have now even gone beyond that to demand for good governance. Because if you look at it, that's where it all comes from. If the government is not responsible, guess what? It's going to reflect in the other units of government. Of course, you know, police department is a unit of the government. So if there is accountability, if there is plans and laws in place to check themselves, sometimes it would be hard for them to follow a line if they have rules to guide the engagement with the public. Yes, ma'am, we're going to say something.
Well, and usually where you have so much friction like that is where there's and not a government, but a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Because everybody in government supposedly should. There's always somebody higher to answer to.
Yeah.
There's always a checklist amongst a government organization. Just like even a CEO of a company usually has to answer to a board of directors.
Yes.
You know, so there's always a checklist, but not...
It's a chain of command.
Yeah, but when you have dictatorship, you have chaos.
But I think the chaos is actually going everywhere now. Especially, I was actually even surprised, even though the Nigerian protest, they have a very specific purpose or something that they're protesting against.
Right.
But then if you move to Europe, you have Belarus, and that is corruption. Of course, there's a lot of corruption. There's corruption everywhere. There's a lot of corruption in Nigeria. That's part of what they are also fighting, corruption. A lot of people have spoken against that. But of course, you even know, even here in America, there's a lot of corruption too,
Oh, sure.
So there's been a lot of accusations here and there by people. But here's what I think. I think that if people use their power that is given them, the power to vote.
There's a lot of power in voting.
There's a lot of power to vote. And a lot of people have taken this for granted. That is why a lot of people don't vote. And this is what I have found out. That the people who rule, they're a reflection of the community, they're a reflection of the people. Because the leader came from the people. So now, if you don't vote and select the right person, guess what? The wrong person gets in there, and then it's like a circle.
Well, I just found this on the internet.
Yeah.
And say the U.S. has one of the lowest vote turnouts of all the industrialized democratic countries in the world. And you think about the freedom. Supposedly, now I've not been I'm not where world travels, so I don't know. But supposedly we have the most democratic, free country in the world, and we have people who don't get out and vote. I bet you there's people here 60 and 70 years old that have never voted.
Man, that's so wrong.
And
and then you want to complain about bad governance.
Well, you can't be if you don't vote.
You see?
If you vote, you're entitled to be. Oh, no. But if you don't vote. Keep your mouth shut. And you don't vote because he's good looking, or she's beautiful, or they're rich, or they're anything else. And I don't know if people really know this, but you can go online and look up your senator and your representatives, and you can see how they have voted on every bill that's come up in the House. You can look and see how they have maintained themselves in Washington, D.C.
That's so true.
And before you vote, that's what you should be doing. Because actually, my personal opinion is you vote for the right person, not the party.
Yeah. So are you saying that you can actually cross your party line and vote?
Yeah.
Okay. So what should be the motivation to do that? What should be the purpose for you crossing line to vote?
Okay, let's say we're voting on an amendment.
Yeah.
I want to know how this person I'm voting for has voted on previous amendments that might be related to the one that's coming up. I want to know how his thinking is, where his loyalty lies. You hear about so many of these people take money and other things from the lobbyists to vote the way they want them to vote.
Yeah.
Or, the guy in South Carolina has got a little project he wants done in South Carolina, and I've got one I want done in Georgia. And I say, look, I'll vote for yours if you'll vote for mine.
Wow.
And those kind of deals are cut all the time. And did you ever see Wag the Dog?
No, not yet.
Well, it's an old movie.
Okay.
You won't see it.
Okay.
Wag the Dog is about a president who had a lot of sexual activity outside of his marriage. And he got so bad, the party didn't want the public to know about it, although it was about to break on him. So they diverted the public's attention with some producers in Hollywood. They manufactured a war.
Wow.
They made pictures of wars and put them on the news that were going on in another country that was a threat to the United States. Now they had diverted everybody's attention. So it was called Wag the Dog.
Yeah,
and then when they got finished with it, everybody that might high up that knew all the details about it, they killed them. So it was just an eye-opener to me.
That's corruption, and this is what I keep saying.
It's beyond corruption.
Yeah, I mean, that's corruption at the highest level. That's corruption at the very, very extreme level. So my thing is this: how do we as voters, how do we deal with finding good candidates? See, like that was a governor or a president, the one that was messing around.
Oh, the president.
It was a president. So see, that's the problem.
And when John Kennedy ran for president, I heard women say they voted for him because he's so good looking.
See?
Come on.
See? So that's the problem. So,
yeah, I mean,
so this whole election candidate and all those things, there's actually a fundamental issue. There's actually a fundamental problem with the system of even selecting. Because I was talking to some voters, and by the way, we're going to go out and try to get some opinion from voters. Find out, get their reaction about those who voted, those who didn't vote. Some of the conversations I've had so far, there are people who say, well, I don't want to vote because I don't like these two candidates. There are some people who said they are only voting because they don't want this person to win, not because they want the candidate they are voting for, not because they like or they want the person they are voting for, but they are voting because they hate this one more than they hate this. So that is a big problem.
Well, I think morals come into play, and also, which you don't hear anymore from people running for elections, but I want to know what you're going to do, and then I want to know what your plan is to get it done. I just don't want to know what you're going to do. If you haven't got a plan, it doesn't mean squat.
Well, a lot of these candidates are even running away from even making any comment, any statement, any commitment. That just tells you how bad the situation is. When did they even want you to know where they stand on any particular policy?
On those debates, did anybody ever actually answer a question? Now, I got disgusted with them and turned them off. But what I never heard one person answer a question.
Yeah, that's really, really.
So I thought it was all a big joke.
Yeah, that's really hard. It's really hard. I think we have to go back to the basis.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And figure out how to restructure this idea of government by the people and for the people.
Yeah.
Government by the people, for the people. There's one word missing.
I was talking to a young lady last night out in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. You went to Portland, Oregon last night?
Yep.
You?
I said I was talking to her.
Okay, over the phone, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, you gotta make this get clear. I'm gonna say, man, how did you make it there and make it back between Monday and now? No, go ahead.
She was blaming so and so for the pandemic. I said, look, you can't blame anybody for the pandemic except maybe China. And I said, you can't blame the government for much of anything. I said, you don't even know what government's for. I said, government was created to govern. It was not created to take care of the people. I said, government doesn't owe you a living. If the hurricane comes by and tears your house down, it's not up to the government to rebuild it. It's not up to the government to pay for your unemployment.
Okay, my mouth is shut on this issue. I'm not
going
to say anything. I'm not saying anything issue.
But I said a government. Look up government.
Yeah. So,
government is to govern.
Well, what is the definition of governing or govern? What's the definition of the word govern?
I haven't looked it up, but government is to enact laws and see that they are carried out and adhered to.
What does the law? What's the law supposed to do? The law is supposed to make sure that things are working. From me, I may be wrong. From me, the first function of the government is to ensure that there's an economy. Economy is running. And number two is to make sure that there is protection. If we have any questions, go ahead.
I was just going to read off the definition of governing.
Oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
feel like we can play off of this
Yeah,
a little bit.
go ahead.
Having authority to conduct the policy, actions, and affairs of a state, organization, or people.
That's it. You make sure that things are running. Thank you.
It's to govern.
Make sure things are running.
Yeah.
Let's not use big words now. Govern means make sure things are running. Like we have our producers here. So they are governing the production of this podcast. And what does that do is to make sure that things are working. Part of the thing that needs to work is the economy. The economy is working. And number two, there's security. There's security. So whatever it takes.
And now that'd be world security.
No. Your this community.
Well, then that's up to you, the county you live in, the city you live in.
It's the government. Come on, Mr. Don't keep running away from the truth.
Well, you can't. Listen, the United States government's not responsible for everything.
They're not. Did I just say? Did anybody hear me say responsible for everything? No. I just said number one, the economy is working, and number two, the security. There is security in the country. There's security in this. Now, security is not only for the wealthy people, or for those who are security for everybody.
We create our own security at my house.
You create your security.
Well, we got the guns, we got the security system.
No, Miss No.
And I'm not relying on the government. I'm not relying on Gwinnett Police Force either.
Okay.
Because they're too slow.
Miss Snow. Okay. So, Miss Snow, now, doing your basic awareness, security awareness, make sure your doors are locked, making sure your windows are closed, making sure that if you have anything in the car is secured or whatever. That's your basic responsibility as a citizen. Now, making sure that the city or the country is secure. That's why you have police force. And that's part of what the Nigerian protesters are demanding is that the police protect them, not brutalize them.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying?
Sure
so
do.
When you say, oh, you're going to hold your gun, there are a lot of countries that don't have the Second Amendment. The only reason you are saying that here is because you have the Second Amendment. That's why you talk about you having a gun.
Right.
All right? So there are countries that don't have Second Amendment. And I know for sure that countries like Nigeria don't have the Second Amendment. So you can't stockpile guns in your home and try to create your own security outfit in your home. No, that's not realistic. You just happen to have that because you have dogs, you have guns. Okay, if everybody have dogs and guns, and then when a dispute breaks out, and then, okay, you bring your gun and I bring my gun, what's going to happen? You have anarchy. So yes, so that's the job of the government. That's why the government has the police force. That's why they have the National Guard. They have the army. They have the armed forces. And because they kind of scale things up if the local police department needs help. So we got to call it spade a spade. So back to election and governance. I think that's where the issue has to come from. We have to figure out a way of taking money out of politics. Because you have very good people, very bright people who have good ideas, who have good policies, they can't run because they don't have the money.
I tell you, there'd be a big change in the United States if they took the lobbyist out of Washington. I mean, that would solve about 75% of our problems. They should be outlawed. And another thing that would solve our problems is term limits. And age limits. There should be age limits and there should be term limits. In Washington, in Gwinnett County, in Georgia, wherever.
I think these are great ideas. When you have term limit, because there are people who have actually lived out their times in the Senate and in the House of Rep. They have no new ideas, and what they are just creating is creating problems. Step out of the way. So if you have term limit, that would end that problem. Yeah.
That lady that just died, what was her name? On the Supreme Court.
Notorious
Well,
RPG.
yeah.
I call her Notorious RPG.
I mean, she was 80-something years old.
Yeah.
She should not have been on the bench. She should have been gone from there at age 60.
So those are some of the things that they can do. That's okay. When it gets to a certain point where you know that this person needs to retire, needs to go rest.
Oh, I'll tell you something else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's companies where you turn 50 or 65, you can't work anymore. That's their policy that you retire. Why don't we have that in government? Why don't we have that in our government?
Those guys are smart, Yeah. Those guys are smart.
They get rid of them because their productivity's declined.
Yeah. So I think the whole thing boils back to us. How do we solve this problem? The problem of governance actually starts with the people.
Voting.
All right. So
if we could get it to come up for vote.
Yes. So for those of you who are still thinking, I haven't made up my mind there, I'm still on the fence. You have Joe Biden and you have Donald Trump. Those are your two people. Just pick one and let's move on for now. So in future, we're going to figure out a way. Some people say, I want a better candidate. I'm sorry. That's what we have right now. It's these two. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the two people we have right now for the presidential election. So go ahead and vote. You just have a couple of days left. A few days left for this voting to be over.
I want to say to everybody listening, as an American citizen, it's a privilege to be able to vote, and therefore it's your responsibility to vote. And voting, remember now, you set an example for your children. You set an example for the younger generation. They should grow up feeling as though, and be ingrained in them, that voting is a responsibility if you're going to live here.
It's a sacred duty that you owe your country, you owe yourself, you owe your children to cast that vote and choose somebody to lead us.
That's very well put, Joe.
Thank you so good. Much. Thank you. I try. I'm so passionate about this.
You're so good.
I'm so passionate about this. And I was so passionate about this that I actually even wrote a book about this election. But now I have to keep that book until after the election because I didn't want the book to impact the election one way or the other. I know the book, from the title, everybody were just thinking one thing, when they saw the title. So what I decided to do is to hold off on the book and then publish the book after the election so that nobody will be accusing me of making one candidate. And I want anybody to accuse me of trying to lean or trying to favor one candidate over the other. We're talking about protests in some cities in America. I think overnight there was a protest.
Where was that?
Where now? I think it was Indiana also. Somebody got shot, and then the police shot and killed somebody, and then they went up in riot also. We got to do something about the police. I think we should talk about that next time.
I think that last one's a little bit of a tricky subject too.
Yes.
That has, I think, going into like the mental health discussion as well.
I see.
Of how you would deal with people that aren't all the way there in certain situations. Because I know the police shot him because he had a knife in his hand.
I see.
And he was walking towards the police. But it was also a moment when I was listening to the video where the police tell his family members to tackle him to the ground so they don't have to use certain force. So I think we have to look into the actual procedures that they will use to arrest somebody or detain somebody.
Yes.
Moment.
I mean, right now it's shoot to kill. That's the problem, So how can we? Let's talk about police. Let's look into this. Talk about police next time.
It's really, we really should never sit back and judge or run our mouth about a situation because it's so misrepresentative on the news, on and even people that are there watching never tell the truth. And you need to be there. You need to be doing it. If I were police and my life was threatened, or I thought it was threatened, what would I do? I'm not qualified to say.
Yeah. So you see, that's what this is an issue that we have to look at it from all sides and find out how do we bring a resolution. You know, because this is happening too much. And it's not only here. I mean, look at the whole country of Nigeria right now. It's kind of up in arms and protesting,
Right.
you know, because of this. You know, maybe we have gotten to a point where the issue of police needs to be revisited. You know, the rules of engagement, how to deal with volatile issues, you know, how to deal with armed suspect and things like that. It needs to be revisited.
But we're not qualified to even say because we've not been there, done that.
No. Well, I have participated in volunteer and I've also done some research and study about police. One time I went to Ghana. I've been to Ghana several times. Ghana, trust me, Ghana, the city of Ghana, I mean the country of Ghana in West Africa, was the first country that I went one time and they said the police was on holiday. The police was on holiday.
Well,
so there's something they're doing right.
Well, yeah, because everybody's going to come against me when I say that this country's too permissive. We don't punish as we should.
Okay, well, I don't know about that.
They say in Saudi Arabia, you only steal one time.
Okay. Well, so let's go ahead and let's go and do this topic for next week. You know, let's do this topic for next week.
I don't know. They may come and burn the place down.
No. We are trying to find solutions, not burn the place down. Let's find solutions because if there's something working out there in
I know
Ghana,
what's working. Working.
In the first case, they don't call themselves police force. They call themselves Ghana Police Service. You see the difference?
Yeah, they are a service. Yeah.
See? But when you say force,
that right away.
So that mentally creates something.
It creates defensiveness.
Yes, you know. So it's a Ghana Police Service.
Yeah, they are a service.
That's what they call it. I don't like that GPS. GPS. What's GPS? GPS gives you direction. GPS is supposed to give you direction.
Oh.
So the police give you direction, you know. It's a great. Let's talk about that next week.
I never used it.
Let's talk about the police department. Let's talk about different police. We'll take some time to talk to some police, local police people here. See if we can get some to come.
I can tell you who's really good if you want. Is those EMTs.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get them.
They are so good.
Let's get them.
Nice.
Let's get them. Thank you all so much for watching today. We appreciate your coming. Ms. Noah, any last words?
I maybe better keep my mouth. I have already probably said too much. So.
No. I mean, it's just opinions that we're expressing, you know.
Yeah. All
right. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week. We're going to be talking about police. We're going to talk about this protest, and we are on YouTube. You know, visit our YouTube channel. We are on Apple. We are on Spotify. The Apple podcast platform.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not the Apple fruit. Not the Apple fruit. You know, this is Apple. Okay. And then we're also on Google podcast platform. And last word for you, Ms.
Just have a good week, good weekend. Be safe from the storm.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.